kind of borderline criminal thing. That if you're using Android, you're using the illegal platform or something. And people like Paul Turot, I think it's pronounced Turot, something like that. He's even saying these things in podcasts, and he obviously gets nailed for it because he has absolutely no proof, but he's just a mouthpiece of Microsoft and the monopoly. So this is the new propaganda campaign of the companies to go after Google and try to portray Google as not, if not communism, then Google is some kind of, they're going to get you in trouble for, they're going to be very anti-competitive, they will spread libel about you, they will take away your money, your advertising, kill the newspapers, and just about any conceivable things which would be negative. I mean, it's true that Google has some serious. I'm trying to be reluctant to say anything too positive about Google because I know they do have some trouble. But Microsoft actually pays people to accentuate these things and to sway and to change public opinion to the point where people perceive Google as the evil empire and lose track of those who really are causing a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think Google have a scary amount of influence and a scary amount of stuff online. The difference that I see between Google and especially Microsoft is Google make good stuff. They make stuff that people want to use. They don't force it upon anyone. Yes, okay, there's like AdWords and analytics that every site under the sun, maybe except mine. I'm a holdout on that. Use, and I block those scripts anyway. But still, they make stuff that people want to use. They make good stuff, and Microsoft just don't do that. They've not quite grasped that concept. That if you make good stuff, people will use it. They just want to ensure that they use their lawyers, their lobbyists, their marketing, all their various clout to try and drive everyone else out of the market so that they're the only default option left. As naff as it is, however crashy it is, however barely well it functions, it's the only choice in the market. That's how Microsoft operate. Google, for all their influence, for all their different services, they at least make stuff that people actively want to use. They choose to use. People choose to use Google Calendar because it works. They choose to use Google Mail because it works. They choose to use Google Docs because it works. That's a huge difference. But the thing with it all being smoke and mirrors, I don't know if Microsoft are now a bit tongue-in-cheek, a bit hiding in plain sight. Have you seen the advert that they've got on TV called To the Cloud? They've got a series of things to the cloud.
Yeah,
and you've got a woman, and she's taking a photograph of like her husband and her two kids, and you've got the whole narrative about, I was stopping George being George, and she's swapping images from previous takes and swapping the husband's face and one kid's face and another kid's, so that they get the perfect family. What is that other than changing what's real and making it into something that's not real? What else is that? That's deception. That's saying, I don't have a real family. I have this perfect family, and that they all get this perfect take. It's all that's what it is to me. To the cloud is basically, I'm going to make stuff up. I'm going to create something that's not real out of other things that are real, and I'm going to change that. That's what it is. To the cloud. I mean, even to the cloud. What the hell's all that about? It's just a computer. It's a program. It doesn't matter where it happens to be. It could be on your local machine. It could be on a service somewhere, on a server somewhere. But the point is, it's just a program that helps you smudge and change reality into something that's not real to then portray that.
Well, I think that this is the point I was trying to make before. I don't think people are, I know Roy may have a different view here, but I don't think people in the main are buying into this Microsoft dream or lifestyle anymore. Like I say, I cited the criticism against the Windows adverts that was seen as a joke, the Windows Party adverts. I think it was Joe Wilcox from Microsoft Watch who made reference to vomiting when he saw them. And I don't think the average anybody's buying into this PR anymore. I mean, I speak to people that have no tech interest and have no tech knowledge at all, and they all say the same thing, rightly or wrongly, on the basis of knowledge or not. That's they don't like Microsoft products. It's that simple. They will try they're very open to alternatives, and they don't believe what they see in the press about Microsoft and greatness and happy smiling families and wonderful lives using Microsoft products.
Oh,
They don't buy into that dream anymore.
really important news. I got a very important news. The head of Microsoft marketing, she just quit the she just quit the job a few days ago, and it's really important because I remember a few years back there was a person who was responsible for the Windows Vista marketing. He left the company within months after the release of the product. And there was a person who was running the Vista blog for Microsoft, and he was the public face, and he kept receiving all these complaints in the Microsoft blog, and he quit as well. And this kind of shows you even the people whose role is to try to change the perception of Microsoft. In this case, this lady who used to work with the company, I think back in the late 80s, she's been with the company for over 20 years in some sense, so it's just working for them peripherally. She basically left just now. And this just shows you a failure. We were mentioning the cloud, but was in charge of the operation. Essentially, it was mostly the person who was supposed to be kind of the heir of Bill Gates. It was Ozzy.
Bill Gates toupee.
It was no, just with an EI. But anyway, I tried to make it sound right. But actually, no, I think both of you as well. Anyway,
carry on.
He left the company around. Well, it was pretty expected he would leave the company. I think it was around November, maybe last November. And the first thing he did, and I think we may have actually covered it in the show. We may have mentioned that he put his blog on Linux on WordPress. And previously, if you look at Netcraft and you look at the history of the domain, it's previously ran Microsoft stuff. So it seemed like as soon as he left the company, his blog basically switched over to Linux. And this is the guy who was responsible for the vision of Microsoft moving into the cloud. And nothing has actually improved since then. You'd be surprised. I mean, it was the same when the guy behind the Zune and the Xbox 360. I mean, both of them. That would be Robert Bach and what's the name of the other one? Jay Allard. They both left the company last year. We know what happened to the Zune. I think we possibly covered the news.
The Zune is an ex-MP3 player. It's the rest of life. If you rattle its cage, rattle its little box, and shout in its ear, "Hello, Polly!" Its feet are nailed to the proverbial perch.
And the second thing is with the Xbox 360. I think Tim knows a lot better because recently he seemed to have mentioned this more than I have, because I don't really keep track of news as much as I used to. But from what I can gather, they don't manage to sell so many, even though they released the Kinect and spent like $500 million just doing advertising around this. Advertising just means pushing lots of nonsense into the news, stuff that's not real, that's just marketing.
I mean, without digressing just very quickly, what Roy's referring to, for the last 2 years, according to figures, the PS3 has outsold the Xbox 360 by about 2 million units. I think it was 2.1 million off the top of my head. My argument has been since the time of the Kinect, for example, was released, was that it's not being a draw to the console in that it's not something that's selling new Xbox 360s in my view. I think it may be appeasing current Xbox 360 owners who were maybe even considering looking elsewhere for their entertainment. But I certainly don't think it's a draw to the console itself. And when you read the forums and the successes of Kinect, if you want to put that in inverted commas, it seems to me that the very popular angle for it is using it on different platforms altogether, and not necessarily as its main purpose, which was as a draw to the 360 itself. Certainly, if that wasn't the case, then we would have expected to see the PlayStation 3, for example, getting hammered by sales of the 360.
I find it quite funny the creative excuses that they come up with. When they cancelled the Zune, the excuse was, well, we've got Windows Phone 7 now, and the Zune service is on that, so no one's going to want a separate MP3 player. So it's only natural that we keep the Zune service going, but we don't actually do Zune
Very often they
devices.
give the brands too, and they try to merge. I have a post that I wrote a few months ago, inspired by one of the guys in IRC channels, and he was explaining very well and gave and gave several very compelling examples. So the fact that Microsoft